Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I'd really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you like this watch, you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Buy, trade, and sell luxury watches on thewatchbox.com. Today we are discussing Grand Seiko's first ever quartz diver. It's the Grand Seiko Quartz Diver SBGX115, a sensational 42.7mm stainless steel diver that's not just Grand Seiko's most precise diver, it's also one of Grand Seiko's most compact and versatile divers. On my 16cm circumference wrist, you can see that 42.7 does not include the crown guards or the crown structure, which are minimized in size so that they will not dig the wrist even as they provide shear guards for the crown itself. You also note that it's relatively slim. 13.1 makes this one of the absolute thinnest Seiko or Grand Seiko divers. Lug to lug, it is a very wearable 49.9mm. I always say lug to lug for a smaller male wrist, which I define as 14 to 16.5 centimeters. You want 50mm lug to lug or fewer. This watch does meet that criterion. It does have a solid end link that extends it to a more substantial 52.6, but I find on my 16cm wrist, that's not a problem. I could easily wear this on a wrist I think as small as 14.5 centimeters with the end links on a strap, and you can see that there are strap tool apertures on the lugs. You could wear this on a 14cm wrist quite happily and comfortably. Now if you do want to put it on a strap, 22mm is the lug spacing, and you will have a bevy of OEM Grand Seiko and aftermarket options there. Stainless steel, it's quite substantial. The steel is nicely finished and the case is nicely curved. It arcs around the wrist and you can see that profile to good advantage from this angle. The bracelet is very much a Japanese take on a Rolex Oyster, which is to say it's a predictable asymmetrical three-link design, but I would not undersell some of the unique aspects of its finish and engineering which are not germane to the Rolex product. You'll note first of all, this is a hand-finished and beautifully shoulder beveled bracelet. Nicely made with handsome contrast on its flanks. That rounded transitional bevel is something you won't find on any Rolex product today. Now you will note it's principally satin on the top to reduce glare, and on the underside it has big gaps to avoid trapping heat, moisture, sweat, grit on the wrist, as well as to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. The clasp is probably over-engineered, as there's a combination of trigger release and a clamshell. So when this thing is closed, it stays that way. You'll also note that there is a incremental extension system that you can use to make small adjustments, and significantly, it can be used while the watch is still on the wrist. So if you are in a marine environment, it helps to be able to make adjustments without risking droppage over water. Grand Seiko gives you both incremental adjustment, all or nothing dive suit extension, and the ability to make all of those changes while the watch is on the wrist. You will note pins and sleeves for the sizing of the bracelet. This is in order to keep the price point friendly, and you will find the pre-owned price point even more friendly. The timepiece is nicely made and quite solid, with satin finished flanks contrasting handsomely with Grand Seiko's famous Zaratsu polish on the lugs. I like this treatment because it offers a sharp contrast, and in the sheer satin flank and the polish of the bevel, there's a little bit of a nod to Omega in that profiling, but make no mistake, this is anything but a nod to Swiss horology. Distinct in every respect, including the maxi-style calibrations on the bezel. Now the bezel is ADLC, amorphous diamond-like carbon, which means it is very, very, very scratch resistant, but at the limit, you could potentially scar this in a fashion that maybe ceramic would resist. The flip side is that this watch can resist blows that would shatter ceramic without losing its bezel insert. Now the bezel itself has a wonderfully deep knurling that I find easy to use even if your hands are wet, sweaty, or gloved. You line up the luminescent pearl with the oversized satin finished titanium minute hand, more on that in a moment, and you'll note that this is an easy 0 to 60 minute timer. I would prefer this to a chronograph, quite frankly. It's simply easier to read a dive bezel in all occasions, under all lighting conditions, than it is to read the sub-register of even a well-made chronograph, and admit it, minutes on this Daytona, while beautiful, are not as visible as minutes on this Grand Seiko. That's why I prefer a dive bezel, whether I'm on shore, aboard ship, or taking the plunge. The bezel itself has a wonderful action to it. It is very refined. It's almost creamy. The detents are there and they're clear, but there was a conscious effort made to increase the sense of luxury when one operates this bezel. Grand Seiko went for refinement and achieved it. The dial is beautiful. There's a ray-hot outboard that's calibrated to make for easy reading of the minutes and the seconds. You'll note that the luminescent counterweight to the seconds hand carries the lume, not the seconds hand itself, but the counterweight. All of the indices are applied, which gives the dial an upscale look. Let's improve our focus a little bit and get closer still. And you'll note that the dial has a wonderful pebbly opaline or matte finish. It's gorgeous because it has a soft glow in all light. It never explodes and it robustly resists glare, but it's quite distinct from a simple silver sunburst or a white dial base like you'll find on an Explorer 2. You'll also note that the indices, all applied, give the dial an upscale look, and because they are blackened, they offer far better contrast than the polished indices on this watch's black dial equivalent. There is a black dial version of this watch that I find is actually more difficult to read. Now the hands, we talked about how they're satin titanium. Grand Seiko wanted to make every measure and take every single engineering step necessary to increase the efficiency, the accuracy, and the autonomy of this watch. So they get a 3-year power reserve, annual accuracy of 10 seconds per year, not per month, not per day, per year, via a thermocompensated 9F61 manufacturer quartz caliber that's underneath the case back. So by fitting titanium hands, Grand Seiko helps to improve the precision as well as the duration of the movement, extending the replacement intervals for the battery. You'll also note clever design features like the broad arrow of the minute hand for easy reading, and the quirky but highly legible vintage aviator style cathedral hand for the hour. More about the 9F. It is a manufacturer movement with a 3-year power reserve by virtue of its battery. Thermocompensated, that is a premium quartz feature that allows it to resist both high temperatures and low, to escape the tendency quartz crystals have to speed up or slow down a watch as temperature changes. It even features a trimmer function, so your Grand Seiko watchmaker is able to compensate for the long-term drift that is endemic to quartz crystals. So this watch can actually accommodate that long-term. It features 9 jewels. It is watchmaker assembled, watchmaker regulated, so don't think this is a machine-made product. And the thermocompensation aspect cannot be overemphasized. If this were a Swiss watch, it would have no difficulty attaining the COSC's quartz chronometer status. You'll also note the symmetry and balance of this dial without a date. It's a pure diving instrument. Telling time, not discerning the calendar, is the mission of this watch. But because telling time is important and you need to be precise, there is a hacking or stop seconds function built into the caliber 9F. Now, one last note on the 9F. It has perhaps the most precise alignment between seconds index and seconds hand I have ever seen, and that is by design, not by accident. Grand Seiko actually uses a spring-loaded lash adjustment system that helps to align the hand perfectly. It brings it to an immediate halt with no secondary vibrations or motion and ensures permanent and perpetual alignment between hash and hand. Quite simply, it's gorgeous, and so is the engineering. You can see and you can purchase this Grand Seiko Quartz Diver on our website. And we're back with the Grand Seiko Quartz Diver, glowing brilliantly green with Grand Seiko LumaBright. Whether you're a diver or a driver or just a general sports watch enthusiast, this 200-meter water-resistant 2014 model year debut is the all-purpose sportster for those who are divers or simply desk divers. See it and own it on the watch box.